Today I'm going to be talking about understanding childhood trauma. So contrary to the popular belief, childhood trauma is not just about big events, so-called big events like abuse or loss. It also includes subtle chronic experiences like emotional neglect, prolonged emotional neglect during childhood, feeling unseen or unheard. That means that our emotions are not validated, or our authentic self has not been appreciated, or has been asked by our parents and carers to be hidden. Caregivers who are emotionally unavailable, unpredictable, or unsafe is the big childhood trauma as well. Early moments where we had to suppress our authentic self to survive or to be accepted. And these four subtle experiences that some people do not see as childhood trauma are causing a huge challenge and huge problems for all grown-ups who have experienced emotional neglect, feeling unseen or unheard in their childhood, or have been surrounded by people who were caregivers who were emotionally unavailable, unpredictable, or unsafe, and early moments where we had to suppress our authentic self to survive or to be accepted. And as you can feel, as you can hear, this is extremely traumatic for any person, not to being seen, not to being heard, not to be accepted. So from a psychological perspective, trauma gets wired into our nervous system. As children, we don't have the tools to process overwhelming feelings, so they got stored in our body and in our subconscious. Once they're stored in our subconscious, we are not aware of them, and we call it unconscious. We are aware of our consciousness, we are not aware what is in our subconscious. And our subconscious is the one that is creating our reality. So to change our reality, we need to practice looking into our shadow work, work with therapists, doing inner child journaling, to deep into this subconscious part of ourselves, and to bring subconscious to a conscious mind, so we can change, we can see ourselves for who we truly are, and we can create better reality for ourselves. So from a spiritual perspective, trauma disconnects us from our essence, this the pure loving consciousness we are by nature. We start believing we are the pain, the abandonment, or that we are not enough, that we are not lovable, instead of realizing that these are just wounds we carry. So why does childhood trauma stays with us? The childhood trauma shapes our core beliefs early, like I'm not lovable, must work hard to be accepted, I must work hard to be valued, the world is unsafe, I can't trust anyone. So those are core beliefs, and there are many more of them. Now the second one is that the body stores unprocessed emotions. Fight, flight, freeze response gets stuck in our nervous system. The third one is we internalize the behaviors of caregivers. Even if we logically know better as adults, even if we have the knowledge and the wisdom, the emotional patterns linger, because these emotional patterns is energy that lives in our body if it hasn't been processed, or it lives in our energetic system. So once we start releasing those energies, then our wisdom and our knowing gets integrated into our body, and that's how we change, and that's how we can see ourselves for who we truly are, rather than us seeing ourselves as trauma and identifying ourselves with the trauma. The fourth one is it creates protective survival strategies, perfectionism, people-pleasing, self-sabotaging, emotional numbing. So these are all survival strategies, and there are many more of them. So when you observe yourself people pleasing, just ask yourself, why are you people pleasing? Ask yourself, why am I people pleasing? Why am I behaving in such a way? What am I protecting? Who am I protecting? Do I need to continue protecting myself in this way, or can I allow myself to see myself for who I truly am, see trauma for what trauma truly is, and can I allow myself to let go of trauma? Spiritually, it clouds our connection to our soul and to our source. We forget we are inherently whole and worthy and good and lovable and complete. And that's very, very sad for any individual. That's that void that people are feeling most of the time. Is that the void that can't possibly fill with stuff, with successes, with people, with relationships? Is this disconnect that we are feeling sometimes if we have not dealt with our trauma? So what are pathways to healing? Well, a first one is inner child work. Through inner child work, we can gently reconnect ourselves with the younger self that's inside of us, is that energetic imprint. We can offer love, safety that we did not receive when we were children. We can offer compassion, we can offer forgiveness, we can reparent our inner child. We can decide through this inner child work that now we are a parent who knows how to raise healthy, confident, stable, self-assured, kind, loving child. So through this inner child work, journaling, working with therapists, we can get in touch with that child. And once we get in touch with that child is going to tell us in details how they feel, what they need from us. And usually what they need from us is safety. They need this safe space where they'll be able to surrender, let go, and see themselves as worthy, as being worthy. So the next pathway to healing is somatic and nervous system healing. Practices like breath work, body work, or somatic experiencing help release stuck trauma. And also massage as well helps release stuck trauma that it is in our body. The next one is trauma-informed therapy or coaching, or I would always recommend spiritual psychology, someone to connect with the person who understands spiritual side of trauma healing, awakening, ego death, and so forth and so on. Having a safe and compassionate witness helps process old pain. Sometimes what's a big game changer is when we are in environment with another person who sees and feels us deeply and who accepts us deeply without any judgment. That's a big one. Spiritual practices, meditation, absolutely number one to calm down our nervous system so we can switch from parasympathetic to sympathetic nervous system. Prayer, hugely magical, really. Prayer is magical, it's powerful. Energy healing reconnects us to our true essence, and it is a practice. Spiritual practice is a practice. It's not one-off thing that we can do, and hope for the best. It's like exercising. You know, when you're exercising your body, spiritual practice is exactly the same. We are exercising on a regular basis to achieve long-term result. Radical self-compassion is absolute must. I will put radical self-compassion, self-love, self-forgiveness number one. Learning to hold our wounds with kindness instead of judgment, and to allow ourselves to fully and completely feel every emotion that comes, and not to judge our emotions, not to judge our desires, not to judge our anger, resentment. It's normal to feel anger and rage during healing process, and it's healthy. Rage and anger can actually save your life, can save our life. We must let that anger out. Of course we are angry. If we have been traumatized as children, of course we're going to be angry. Of course there is anger. Of course there is rage. Of course there is frustration. We have to let it out of our body. So this radical self-compassion rather than judgment is absolutely crucial. So you can also practice journaling prompts, affirmations. During your meditation, bring your inner journal with you in your meditation space. Meditate for however long with intention to connect with your inner child, and then and do some journaling prompts. Go deep, explore, and set yourself affirmation for trauma recovery. Tell yourself that you are in reprogramming process, transformation, sacred, I would say, transformational process, and set yourself affirmations of love, of self-acceptance, of compassion, forgiveness, and so forth. So that's what I have for you today, and I'm looking forward to connect with you next time. Thank you very much.